the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things that make us go wow.
Wow.
I'm co-founder of World of Wonder, Fender Bailey, joined this week extra special guest, my fellow co-founder of World of Wonder, Randy Barbado.
Hi there, I only have 10 minutes.
All right. And editor of the Wow Report, James St. James, and Wow's Chief Creative Officer, Tom Campbell.
Hi.
Oh my God, yes, hello.
Don't forget to set your clocks back an hour this Sunday. And let's not waste any more time since it's ticking away and get straight to the countdown. Number 10, Tom.
Number 10.
For the second time since the pandemic, I went to a movie theater and I saw a feature film, and that alone is wowing me. But I saw a movie that was pretty darn good, and it is the movie King Richard, starring Will Smith. And it's the story of Venus and Serena Williams' father and their youth, and how he, against the extraordinary, unbelievably true tale of a man who willed and trained his daughters to become the biggest tennis stars in the world.
And I thought it was a Shakespeare play. I thought Will Smith was doing Shakespeare.
I'm so glad you said that.
Thank
because
God it's not.
it was a last minute request from my friend Russell. He had his DGA screening, blah, 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 let's go. And I literally was too embarrassed to say, what's King Richard about? Because I thought it sounds awful. It sounds like Shakespeare. I didn't know, I hadn't seen the billboards yet. And I thought, I was just love the movie because I was so happy it was in, prose.
I saw the billboards and I still thought it was Shakespeare. I thought it was some contemporary. It's like pushing a shopping cart, right?
He has a shopping cart full of tennis balls and his daughters, Venus and Serena, are on it because Venus and Serena are so deeply embedded into our pop culture that I sort of take them for granted. I was not fully aware, had never fully focused on their origin story, which is, they are from Compton, from a bad neighborhood. Richard, the Will Smith character, had been, as we find out in the movie without spoilers, had been married before, got married again. I think he saw Steffi Graf or somebody get a big check, and he goes to his new wife, and they already had children on both sides. We need to make 2 more children. And he decided, he literally from birth had the vision of them becoming tennis stars. And he wasn't a tennis player. And he learned from tapes and books. And he taught them as long as he could. And then he hustled like no one has hustled to get them a proper, quote unquote, tennis coach at different times later in their careers. And at one point, they wanted Venus, not Serena. And it is a truly unbelievable, remarkable tale that kind of shows this man, warts and all. There is the woman who plays the mother, whose name is Anjanou Ellis. She was in NCIS Los Angeles. She's been around forever. She's this 50-something-year-old Black actress, and she plays the mother. And I really was convinced, I was going to be ranting, oh my God, they so underdeveloped her character. Well, they were Jehovah's Witnesses. And women tend to be kind of pushed aside, and there's an incredible reckoning in that. And her character is it's an award-winning supporting actress.
Well, wait, but because I am not a Will Smith fan. But is this his big Oscar push?
He embodies it. He does a great job. I would not be surprised. He really did. He's not hamming it up. He's playing, but it is a charismatic character, and he plays him very well. With flaws and all. And
now, isn't there also a documentary coming out on YouTube where he discusses that at some point he considered suicide? I definitely, or is that also scripted? And is that the Shakespeare?
No,
and there's also a series on Nat Geo, To the Ends of the Earth, where Will Smith goes to the most remote places on the planet. So Will Smith is
definitely
everywhere.
He's back.
Will Smith is the Rock. He's like the Rock.
But the backstory and the hardship and the racism and the hate and the physical abuse and the likelihood of succeeding, and that they rate, there couldn't be a whiter world than the world of professional tennis. And the fact that these two and their attitude, the girls come off great because they just were imbued, it would be seen, with so much confidence and love. And I think
you talk about the white aspect of it, and the racism that they faced, even their costume, their outfit choices. I remember them always. There was definitely amount of racism in the choices of what Venus would wear.
Everything they did, it's like when RuPaul says, every time I bat my false eyelashes, I'm making a political statement. Their very presence was a political statement, without them being political at all. And this takes them from sort of early childhood through Venus's first professional match, which ends in a surprising way. It doesn't take them through their career, but it takes the genesis of how they got there, how they broke onto the scene, which, again, remarkable.
I do have a question, though. Why did he decide to do this? Like, what was the motivating?
It's almost supernatural, or like God struck him. He doesn't say that, but like he was watching TV and he saw, I think, Steffi Graf get a big check, and he goes, "We need to have daughters."
No money. They wanted the money is the motivation.
Obviously, they talk too about black on black violence and how he had to survive. Where they played tennis in the playgrounds of Compton, there was danger, and he got beat up, and and the girls were sexually advanced upon, and just you realize the minefield they had to walk through, and it starts the movie with him just going to coach after coach, white guy after white guy, saying, "Come on," and people are like, "Do you know the odds? Do you know the odds you're talking about if I took on everybody?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do, and I'm taking those odds." So anyway, it's kind of a feel good biopic, but it sort of shows him in warts and all. And again, the wonderful actress Ingenue Ellis gives a delightful performance.
That is King Richard in theaters on HBO Max as well. November 19th. Number 9, James.
Number 9.
I went to go see the Van Gogh exhibit, the Van Gogh exhibit here in Los Angeles.
It's not an exhibit. It's a virtual experience.
It's a virtual experience. It is a sensation. It is a sense around. You become as mad as Van Gogh by the time you leave it. It is a sensory overload. I have many thoughts, but I want to hear Randy's before I go on.
Oh, because I also went. And you know who else went? Last night, Britney Spears went.
No!
And yes, she did. And here's the thing. It's the perfect exhibit for Britney Spears and 7-year-old kids, because I brought my 7-year-old kids there. I think if Van Gogh was still alive, he'd cut off his other ear. No, because it is great for 7-year-olds and pop stars.
It's like 2 floors of a digital, how would you describe it?
Well, I would describe it if your high school design class had a challenge and they said reinterpret Vincent van Gogh and put on a show. This is what it would be, because there's like cardboard cutouts of his paintings, and they've taken total liberties with all of his work.
Yeah,
it's
not even. It's like you're watching an MTV video of someone deciding what Vincent van Gogh is.
Like, let's cut out the moon. Oh, we're gonna cut this star.
Yeah, it's a bunch of sunflowers that all of a sudden swish into Starry Night, that swish into the potato eaters. Yes.
It sounds like an Instagram opportunity. That's
exactly what it is.
There are Instagram. There are places where you can take pictures, and you have to keep your mask on. I will say this: I didn't buy the rubber ear eraser, but I will say I mean it in all earnestness. It's a great exhibit for 7-year-olds, because my kids were completely immersed in it. And then afterwards, we went home. I played Don McLean's, Starry, Starry Night to them. We read all about Vincent van Gogh. And by the way, it's a little dark for 7-year-olds because they're like, but why did he cut off? You know, and I had to, but it was great to go into that and for them to look at his art. And so it's a great place to take your children.
And there's Edith Piaf is singing Je ne regrette rien, and Maurice Chevalier is singing, and all you've got all this stuff happening. I'm not a huge Van Gogh fan though. I kept thinking to myself how much better it would be if it was like Monet and the water lilies swirling, or like Picasso and everything breaking up and coming back together.
It will be, James.
I think there's a lot. Yeah, I think it's the wave of the future of looking at art. Because
I haven't seen this yet, but I think it's for Britney Spears 7-year-olds and me. Because I always say when I go to museums, they're so snooty, and the worse my eyes get, it's like you have to go really close to read the little plaque, right? And then you have to go far back to take the painting, but there's people walking in front of you. I just like the idea, and I also buy a lot of my art on Uniqlo sweatshirts and hoodies and t-shirts. So I like the high-low of art.
There was, the skeleton smoking cigarettes. There was a great backpack and a water bottle that I got. I'm really so the merch was really good.
Purchased.
I wanted to say very quickly before we go on that I noticed there was a big thread on Twitter about this, about how there's something sort of off about the sugar cookie that I bought of the severed ear, the bloody severed ear, and the eraser and everything like that. Where it's this guy, and it's one of the most harrowing moments in art history, and it's one of the saddest moments in his life where he's like, it goes completely mad, and then we're sort of bullying him from beyond the grave about, like, imagine you have this emotional breakdown, and a couple years later, people are selling pencils about it, or cookies.
James, may I give you an example that might flash through, and I'm sorry if I interrupt you again, is if you've got a hump, put some glitter on it, and then repackage it as a cookie.
But we were sort of thinking that there's like when Titanic, like their Titanic merch. I mean, people died, and here we are buying like these funny Titanic things, and like Helen Keller jokes. Like, like imagine you're Helen Keller and people are making jokes about. Imagine you're Vincent Van Gogh and people are selling bloody cookies.
Well,
time
equals humor.
He's dead.
He is dead, but I don't know. I'm being a little sensitive. I suppose.
Do we know why he cut his ear off? By the way.
Well,
yes,
it was after he had a big row with Gogh.
Yeah,
and he was supposed to be.
They were best friends, and
aren't we saying gay lovers? I think.
I wondered about that.
I think yes. I think it's been whitewashed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's an unattractive couple.
I mean,
they were both just not very neither. What? Yeah.
What?
I think Vincent Van Gogh was just not an attractive man.
I think Jesse Tyler Ferguson's husband would disagree with you about that.
Tyler Ferguson could play him in a movie.
Jesse Tyler Ferguson.
He should have been. He should have been narrating this as Vincent Van Gogh.
Tickets to see the immersive Vincent Van Gogh exhibition are available now through February 6th.
Wouldn't you have enjoyed going there with Britney? She went after they had a private viewing of the
and what did she have to say about
Imagine that for a moment. Imagine Britney looking at Vincent Van Gogh.
That is a clash of different worlds right there. I also think that it must have been fun being there with kids. That is sort of fun.
It's great.
Yeah.
I have pictures I'll share.
Good, cool.
All right, lovely. Moving on, number 8.
Number 8.
Every year there's a word of the year. The Oxford English Dictionary releases its word of the year. And do you know what the 2020 word of the year was?
Insurrection.
Oh, pandemic. I don't know what.
Give us a hint.
Well, you would think it would be COVID, but no, they actually were unable to arrive on a word of the year. There were just so many words flying around that they just decided to describe the whole year as unprecedented. This year, however, what do you think the word of the year for 2021 is?
How can you that seems, wait a second. There were too many words to make a decision.
Yes.
This is the world we're living in.
Too many
Make
words.
a decision, right?
Well,
Too many words. Too many words.
a decision for 2021,
Wait,
and I'm
you
asking
mean
you.
new words that have entered into our vocabulary that now we get to pick to which one is the most popular? Like
Just the most impactful, the word of the year. What do you think it is? It's not.
well, don't get mad at me. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. No one's going to say. Okay, it's vax. Vax is the word of the year. If you just looked
Oh.
at your cheat sheet, James, for the show, you might actually have got a clue.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare. And then there's all sorts of variants. That's what's so exciting about vax as well. There's many variants. Like COVID itself, there's many variants. What do you think an anti-faxer is? Anti-faxer.
Oh, someone who just won't listen to the facts of
That's
that.
exactly
About
right, James.
about
And
virus.
vaxident. What about a vaxident? If you have a vaxident, what do you think?
That's when your fax paper gets jammed in the fax machine.
That's when the microchip that they're injecting in you goes awry.
It's
When
when,
the needle breaks.
you have a car accident as a result of having gotten the shot. You're suffering.
Nobody has an accident. You know,
Accident.
I have an aunt though who was bitten by a monkey when she was in Africa, and she got monkey madness and was driving her car and blacked out and hit the car against a tree.
Was it a
She's a
fatal
liar.
accident?
No. This happened like 6 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So she had monkey madness. I think that might be the one of the words of the year.
I don't believe any of that, but I loved hearing it.
And then a Vaxstar, if you got a Vaxstar, you can intuit if someone has had the vaccine. Like gaydar, but Vaxstar. And then there's a vaccinistas, are people who boast about getting their shots and post Instagram selfies.
What is your
injected.
source?
What?
Your source.
We want a
My
source
source
on
is
this.
the Oxford English Dictionary.
If this were a RuPaul's Drag Race challenge, those would all be. I would have to have 2 of those lip sync for their life because they're really bad.
Yeah.
How about the
Vaxstar?
inoculati?
This
That's the new
Vaxstar
word.
is someone really reaching. I think
Yeah.
just someone in the Oxford Dictionary is like
I'm
smoking.
sorry,
a little
my dear.
doobie.
No.
A new
That's
addition
shade.
this year is the inoculati, which is a variation of Illuminati, right? The elite.
They're
The
just they are
inoculati.
getting high in the office and making this shit up. Ain't nobody talking about the inoculati.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to expand your vocabulary. All right, that is the word of the year. By the way, we can look forward to Pantone will be releasing in a few weeks the color of the year.
Big
for
color of the year.
2022.
That is always a big get on our show.
I hope it's navy blue.
We're going to take a quick break. Queen of the Universe, our new international drag queen singing competition hosted by Graham Norton, premieres December 2nd on Paramount Plus. Sashaying to the judging panel, Leona Lewis, Michelle Visage, Trixie Mattel, and Vanessa Williams.
That is a hell of a lineup there. That is a really amazing group
Right?
of judges.
Right?
It's kind of a dream
Yeah.
come true.
I'm excited about that one.
We're going to take a quick break. Blake, you got a question for us?
I do. I was going to ask which pop star went to the Van Gogh exhibit last night, but I guess I'll just ask about the time change. So until 2006, which U.S. state allowed their counties to decide whether they would observe daylight savings time?
Oh, God, I know which one it was. It could only be one. We'll be right back with the answer after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Randy, James St. James, and Tom Campbell.
Hi.
Hello.
And Blake, you had a
Hi.
question?
Yes, I asked what state until 2006 allowed its counties to decide whether they observed daylight savings time or not.
I think it's Kentucky because they're just so chaotic and anti-establishment and just
I'm
shit show.
thinking it's Arizona because don't they not celebrate that sometimes?
I'm going to say Arizona. I'm putting in Arizona,
Yeah.
Randy.
Texas.
It's Indiana.
What?
Same thing.
Why?
I don't know. But they changed it to switch to like regulate everything in 2006. So no longer can they decide. Now they have to observe.
And wasn't the reason why we have daylight savings for the farmers, or was it King Edward or something?
Yes.
Okay.
We talk about it every year, and it's the farmers, and everybody dies. Remember, like people die because of the daylight saving.
People get hit by cars walking to school in the morning.
Oh.
But more people die because their clocks are off, and so they're not looking when they're driving. So
I just stay in bed around the clock if possible for safety.
I never can change the clock on my car, so I just wait the 6 months and have to subtract in my head an hour. Or
That's good. That's good for your brain to
It
keep
does.
your IQ there.
I bet
It's
it's always.
playing
I bet it's
word.
always 12 on your VCR, though, right?
always.
we are counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. We've reached number 7.
Number 7.
I saw a piece online that aired on 60 Minutes this past Sunday. It was an Anderson Cooper piece, and he was talking to Israeli history professor and author Yuval Noah Harari. And he wrote a book in 2014 called Sapiens, which was this really colorful explanation of the history of man and how we came to be. Well, he's written a couple books since then. And now this whole piece was that you looking at us right now, and Blake over there, we are one of the last generations of Homo sapiens before we may be overtaken, because we're a mankind. We're on the brink of creating a new kind of being, as different as man is from monkeys. All right, and it is. It'll be much more intelligent than we are, and it could be humans actually merging with computers, like people having computer stuff in their heads. And there definitely is genetic engineering, which will continue, so people can design their own children of intelligence and the way they look. And what's so scary about it is, up until this point, intelligence has existed alongside consciousness. So if you're smart, presumably you also have a human experience and you can make moral judgments.
Yes.
But now, and this goes into my whole, my recent Facebook post of the algorithm has no soul. And it's this whole, and we've heard all this stuff before, but now it feels imminent. And it's the idea that, Homo sapiens came about, and whatever evolution allowed us to communicate with each other, to cooperate, to build villages and walls and buildings. And we're able to sort of get the Neanderthal man dead and gone and extinct. And now this is what might be happening, that it's all about intelligence. It's, and data harvesting, which we've heard before too, right? It's like, instead of the Iron Curtain, it's now the Silicon Curtain. It's between China and the United States. And the reason that everybody bought Twitter and all these things, all the streamers want is our data. They want to know what we're doing, what our behavior is, and they said, think about, and the guy said, this doesn't necessarily mean the end of the world, depending how it's used, but it will. And it's the idea that, you know all the health stuff that's happening in your Apple Watch and your Apple computer and the health watch and your heartbeat and all that stuff. It's just more data to track what you do and you feel. Yes, it helps you live longer. But
I just want to add something. I don't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to add something. Do you remember when they launched the sort of AI conversational intelligence? I think Twitter did it, Microsoft did it, and they had to shut it down because it just immediately just became ranting, racist, bigotry, homophobia, death. It became a sort of QAnon madness.
And that's what I look forward to, because algorithms tell us right now what to watch. Amazon, what to buy, but soon it'll tell us what to study at college, what job to get, who to marry, who to vote for. It'll just be, and they said, imagine humans will be hacked, that we will computers and the algorithms will remember our lives more thoroughly than we ever could. And they'll be able to analyze and predict. And then the ethics come in, which is, algorithms can identify that you're gay before you know you're gay. What you look at, what you respond to, and what happens if you live in Iran or someplace where at 15, the algorithms figured out you're gay and it's illegal to be gay. The other one, and I'll shut up, is self-driving cars. Okay, a kid runs out in the middle of the street. It's like, and you're sleeping in the back. The car has to make the moral decision to hit the kid veer off into the oncoming traffic, or just let you die in the
That's
backseat.
not how self-driving cars work.
Well,
They
James,
will.
they don't work. That's the first thing.
I don't know. Like, it sounds like life could be a lot easier.
I
Like, you
give
won't
it up.
have
Become
all
a
these walls.
cyborg. Yeah,
You-
let's
you
all
can
just become
relax.
cyborgs and not have to worry about anything. Just let the algorithm.
Right.
decide.
Like, let somebody else pick out what I'm going to wear and the books that I should read and what I
Please.
should
What if they
Yeah.
just don't want you
Understandable.
around, Randy?
I
They'll
love what
want us
Hannah
around,
Gabsy said.
and by the way, yeah, because they're all about making, like, what does artificial intelligence want? It's
Well,
artificial.
it's
It
going
wants
to
you
it's going to be
dead,
like
Randy.
hell. It's going to be like the Cylons on Battlestar Galactica. They're coming for us, and we either can fight them to the death, or we can become their slaves or their pets.
Maybe humans, Homo sapiens, are Van Gogh, and algorithms are Van Gogh exhibits.
I can't wrap my head around that one. Let's move on to number 6, James.
Number 6.
I went to a fashion show. I did not go to the Gucci fashion show, which was on
Oh.
Hollywood Boulevard between La Brea and Highland, and was apparently the biggest fashion spectacle of all time. I don't know if you saw, my Instagram feed was nothing but Macaulay Culkin and Natasha Lyonne and Lizzo and Jared Leto. And I ran into Merle Ginsburg, of all people, and she said that it was not only was it the best fashion show she's ever been to, but she was seated next to Angelica Houston, Diane Keaton, and Gwyneth Paltrow. And Gwyneth Paltrow was wearing the red velvet Tom Ford tuxedo from 1997 that just happened to be hanging in her closet. But I didn't go to any of that because I'm not A-list enough to go to that. I went to the Julia Clancey thing downtown, and it was a spectacle. It was, usual fashion shows, you wait for 2 hours. They say they're going to start at 9:30 and they start at 12:30 in the morning. Like, that's just ipso facto across the board. And then it's like 15 minutes and it's over. This was like an hour and a half long, and it had roller boogie stars. It had 80s breakdancers. It had voguers. It had these oversized models from, they had like these old ladies, these 80-year-old ladies. They had people, dancing, and it was just absolutely spectacular. Julia Clancey is famous for doing turbans. She does these fabulous turbans with like long tassels and giant like brooches on them, and she does caftans with like tinsel hanging off. She does caftans and turbans is what she's famous for. She's huge in Palm Springs, and she's and Beverly Hills.
Wait a second. When's the last time you saw someone wearing tinsel and
Me, last time I went and visited you in Fenton.
She's
Palm
huge in Palm Springs.
I'm just
Massive.
disappointed you weren't at the Gucci show on Hollywood Boulevard. I
I
can't get
know.
past that.
Yeah, I mean, a shame that but it was the more A-list than the Academy Awards, than the opening of the Academy Museum.
Was Lisa E on the runway at this fashion show?
Yes, in
I
fact,
saw-
Lisa was on it in the show, and I was seated in the front row next to her mother and father, Bonnie and Alvin, who were in their 80s and just adorable. And I was wearing these giant florets. I sent you a picture, and
Gorgeous.
they're these little tiny people. They're so sweet, but I literally was covering Alvin. He could not see over my flower, and then I tried switching places, and then I knocked Bonnie off her seat with my other flower, and I was just like, I was a fashion menace is what I was.
James, any fashion trends in turbans that we should know about moving into the new season?
Well, it is. It's all about the velvet turban with the brooch. I mean, brooches are it right now. Brooches are just in any place you can find to put a brooch is just is the thing to do. I had taken Nigel from World of Wonder, and Nigel had never been to a fashion show before, and so he was like a kid in a can. He was like the whole time just like Like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. And I kept telling him this is not what every fashion show is, but he just had an absolute wonderful time. And I saw so many people that I haven't seen. I was out. I think I'd mentioned on Twitter that I got there 2 hours in advance. We ended up at a sports bar, and there was a drag queen there playing trivia. And so I was out literally for about 4.5 hours last night. And I haven't been out for that long, I think, in about 3 years. So it was quite a night.
Well, we'll post pictures on the Wow Report. Too bad you weren't at the Gucci show on Hollywood Boulevard. Boo-hoo.
Next year.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Squid. Now, you've all watched Squid Game, right? Well, there's also this cryptocurrency called Squid. And I think between October the 26th and this Monday, the value of a Squid crypto coin rose by 23 million% to, they were like worth ultimately 2,861.80 cents a piece. But then they did this thing called a rug pull. Now, I know F all about cryptocurrency. I just don't really understand it. But the rug pull, I do understand.
Yes.
Which is when the people who've launched the cryptocurrency decide to take all their cryptocurrency and cash it out for real money, leaving everyone else
do it at the
holding...
same time, and they fuck everyone over.
Yes.
I think that's called a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme.
Thank you. It's as old as the hills. And they raked in 3.3 million. No one knows who they are. Because that's the way cryptocurrency works, I guess. You don't know who's behind it. They said that they were getting very depressed by scammers and overwhelmed with stress. So I guess, yeah, sure. If you're feeling that way, just go rip everyone off. Why not? Just
it's
take
James is behind it all.
I have a friend who was dabbling in cryptocurrency for a while there, and he put in like 1,000 and made $44,000 the next week. And then a couple of his friends made 2 million that week, and he was he was sort of putting it back, in other things. But then he says that the thing now, and I don't understand this at all. He says, NFTs, everyone left the cryptocurrency and started doing NFTs. And the NFT to do is horse breeding. And they will have a picture of a horse, and you have to decide the horse's genes, if they have good genes, if the horse has it's like a fake horse that you have to decide his fake pedigree. And if you can do that, if you have an eye for the horse, then you will end up making millions.
And this is different than Jordache jeans, right? Wasn't that a horse
jeans? Get
Wasn't
it?
that a horse brand? Jordache?
Hey,
it's a 40-year-old joke.
We'll take a quick break. RuPaul's DragCon back May 13th to 15th, 2022. And if you buy your tickets during the month of November, you can support the leading foster and adoption agency that works with LGBTQ plus parents and children. That's Extraordinary Family.
The DragCon's happening in LA, so everyone come.
It is at the convention center. But buy your tickets this month, November. Give an extra $5 to Extraordinary Families, and World of Wonder will match that donation. Oh,
I also believe I've heard rumors that Randy Fenton and I are going to be doing a panel on at DragCon this year for
what are we doing
our
about?
podcast.
What are we talking about?
We're doing a podcast.
Night Fever?
Yeah, of Night Fever.
I hope it's not scheduled against my solo panel and with me and my cats. I hope that doesn't happen.
I only have 10 minutes.
I'm always the last to know. Blake, give us a question for the break.
It's another time question. What 2 states do not observe daylight savings time?
Wait, wasn't that the last one we just did?
I thought you said everybody has to
No.
observe it. Wow.
We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Randy and Tom and Joan St. James and Blake.
Hi. Now, earlier I asked what state allowed their counties to allow for if they observe daylight savings time. They changed that in 2006. That was Indiana. Now I'm asking what 2 states do not observe daylight savings time?
Well, now I'm going to say Arizona.
Arizona.
And Hawaii.
Yes, definitely Hawaii, and I'm going to stick with Kentucky.
It's Arizona and Hawaii.
Oh,
There you go.
Woo-hoo, feels good.
We
feels
are
good.
counting down the top 10 things from this week that made us go, wow, we've reached number 4.
Number 4.
I think I've made it pretty clear on previous episodes of the Wow Report that I am having a renaissance of Lucille Ball obsession. Right?
I don't care.
Well, luckily, your 10 minutes are up, Mr. Barbado. There's the movie coming out with Nicole Kidman that everyone's all about. There's a new documentary that's coming out. There's that the podcast radio show from '64 was unearthed and changed my life. So when Turner Classic Movies, my go-to channel, did a day of Lucy movies, I happened to catch, I think for the first time from beginning to end, the 1974 Technicolor musical film in Panavision, Mame.
I'm out. That's it. That's it. You've gone too far.
No, so I thought like, okay, with my new, I've always loved Lucy. I've never stopped loving Lucy, but I love her deeply now. I feel her pain. I feel her longevity. I feel her feminism. And this is an awful movie.
Oh.
And the two things that make it awful that were panned then.
Her caterwauling. Let's just call it what it is.
It's a musical, and Lucy, never a great singer, is now, this is early 70s. It released in 74. They started in 72. By the way, she never looked more beautiful. She was so skinny. They have her all dolled up and taped up, but does he need a stronger hand? Do you need a letter?
We need a little Christmas right this very minute.
Second, the other thing that's criticized is that in her close-ups, you start to lose your vision. You think you have cataracts because they have greased the Vaseline the lens.
Season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
I can't hear you, James. You're going through a tunnel. So it dawned on me because otherwise it's a spectacular film. I mean, there's money, there's sets, it's a great story, there's great things. And this is as Jeff Bezos and all those billionaires waste their money to go into space for 2 seconds. Why can't some gay billionaire within the sound of my voice spend the money to restore the film to get someone who sounds like Lucy, but better to replace her vocals for singing, and to just go into the master and digitally redo her blurring so she matches everybody else in the film. And then that would be a way to show that we love Lucy.
Maybe RuPaul could do the vocals.
Who?
RuPaul.
Why not?
But the problem with it is the pacing is off. It doesn't have the original pace of the Rosalind Russell version. It doesn't. There's something very plotting about it.
Yeah, it's a couple hours long.
I
love the idea of going back into films. Film purists are so like conversation. Go back in and fix what's wrong with them. That is the future. That is what the algorithm told me to do in my sleep.
That's a RuPaul challenge, by the way. That's a challenge.
What are you eating, Randy? What have you got? You got your lunch there? Some nuggets.
Dipping.
Tom, I do want to say that I watched a few of the Lucy movies and stuff. I have to say that I watched 5 Came Back, which is an absolutely spectacular noir film from like 1940s. There's a plane crash and she plays a hotsy-totsy, nasty showgirl who's like a mob moll, and she's really just spectacular. And they crash land on an island, and there are evil natives that are coming to kill them, and they have to get the plane going. And when they get the plane going again after like 2 weeks or whatever like that, only 5 of them can go on the plane, and there's 11 of them. And so they have to decide which of the 5 are going to survive and which 6 are going to be eaten by the natives. And it's an amazing, amazing movie. If you ever get a chance, if you're a Lucy fan and you want to see some I Love Lucy, that's the one to go with.
Thank you, James, for saving my segment. And also for reintroducing the topic of cannibalism, which we haven't really talked about here in the Wow Report for way too long.
Let's move on to number 3, James.
Number 3.
Number 3, I wanted to do an update on Days of Our Lives, what's been happening, because I know you guys are just addicted to this storyline of Marlena being possessed by the devil. And I want you to know that she is still possessed by the devil, and she is it's Halloween, and so she's dressed up as Satan. She's in a little devil costume, and so she's running around, and she's got her husband John figured out that it's Satan, and so she has him locked up in a crypt, in the Demira crypt. And so she's wandering around the cemetery, and as she's wandering around in her little devil costume, she's raising up Salem citizens from the dead, who have all the characters who have died on the show. And she's saying, "Rise, my undead army, rise and wreak havoc on the citizens of Salem." And you'll see like hands coming up through the dirt, and then like all these zombies characters that used to be on the show like 10 years ago are back, and they're sort of like wandering around the town, and everyone is saying, "Oh my God, I just saw Charlie," and they're calling like the police, and the police will say, "No, Charlie's dead." And then someone else will call and say, "We just saw Deimos," and the same police officers will say, "No, Deimos is dead." Like, no, the police, of course, because it's a soap opera, aren't believing anything. Now, also across town, we have Ben and Sierra. And Ben, I've told you about, is the handsome serial killer with a heart of gold who he murdered a bunch of people years ago, but it was all a mistake. And now he's the hunk on the show.
He was young, dumb. He needed the money.
Yes. And so he just married Sierra, and they were talking about having a child, but he doesn't want to pass his serial killer genes on to the child.
I hear you.
But then they decide to have a child. They decide to have sex anyway. And as they're having sex, all of a sudden the window blows open. All the candles go out, and they say, "Did you feel that chill?" And all of a sudden you realize that she's pregnant, and she's going to have the devil's baby, and it's going to be a Rosemary's
baby.
The baby's going to be possessed because they're like, "Did you feel it?" So we know this it's going to go on for at least another 9 months.
I bet you they're going to have that baby born in a month.
They can do it. They can do it on It Days of Our Lives.
So you watch this every day?
Every day for the last 30 years. And I've watched General Hospital every day for the last 45 years.
What are they going to do when this story comes to an end? What are they going to do when this story comes to an end? Like, how are they? There's no way back from this.
They've done this before. In the 90s, they did it.
Yeah, Marlena was possessed before, and afterwards, everyone sort of just pretended that it didn't happen, and they forgave Marlena for killing the priest and setting the church on fire.
All right. Well, let's go. Thank you for that update, Jiz. Let's go on to number 2.
Number 2.
I have one word for you. Mycelium. Do you know what mycelium is?
Is it a cryptocurrent?
It is not a cryptocurrent.
Is it your ceiling?
New. Randy.
Mycelium? I thought it was your ceiling as well.
Does it have something to do with celiac disease?
No. It's fungus. And mycelium, it's a mushroom. Mushrooms are the future. Mushrooms are going to save the planet. They have figured out how to make leather, mushroom leather, and Hermes has put it into bags. Stella McCartney is designing clothes. Adidas is releasing sneakers, all made out of mushroom leather.
Is it spongy like a mushroom? It's
durable. It grows very fast. You know, it takes a cow years to mature. So then you got to kill it and strip it for its leather. But this mycelium fungus grows super, super fast and is much more strong and durable. And of course, you're not having to dig fossil fuels out of the planet. You're not having a farting cow emitting methane. It's much kinder to the planet. And they've really figured it out. I'm not quite sure how they actually grow it, but
and where are the mycelium mushroom? Where are these farms? And
they're everywhere, Randy. Everywhere. We could turn World of Wonder into a mycelium
on the roof. We could do it on the roof. Now, are they also hallucinogenic? Like, if you eat your Stella McCartney jacket, will you start tripping?
I don't believe, and I don't think it's very chewy, really, because they actually are able to make building blocks out of this same material, mycelium. So I'm not sure that it's really, I'm sure it's good fiber, but it might be hard to chew. They're able to, this mycelium thing is really going to save the world. It's a new product, and they call it mycotecture, which is building with mycelium bricks. And
I've seen this on Building Off the Grid, this show that I binge watched, where that people build stuff off the grid, and this is a new building block for natural
And
Like
how
you're
do you know how they grow it from watching that show?
I didn't catch that. I
But
mean,
wait,
it
you
was
mean to
only
tell me
when
that,
one
like,
episode.
you can make a building and it's going to be resistant to rain and all that stuff
yes,
from
yes.
mushrooms.
That is why it may not be magic mushrooms, but the mushroom is magic. And
You guys, I hate to tell you this, but mycelium is people.
Soylent mushroom. Listen, I have one more thing to say. There's more. They now are making also a mushroom death suit, and that's an actual suit that they put your body in, and they throw you in the ground, and then the mushrooms go to work, and they neutralize any environmental contaminants you might harbor, like pesticides or heavy metals, and they break you down and they decompose you. And the mushroom death suit it's only $999.
So it's a way to like
help disintegrate you, to decompose you, to compost you back into the earth.
Exactly right.
ergonomically, yeah.
Yes. I guess the mycelium is here to make way for the Borgs and the algorithm. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing this week that made us go wow. But I will tell you one more thing, which is Drag Race Italia is coming to Wow Presents Plus November 18th. With Priscilla, Giari Francini, and Tommaso Zorzi. How's that Italian accent?
It sounds like Lady Gaga is pronouncing that.
The Lady of Gaga. Get more info on the Wow Report or sign up for Wow Presents Plus at wowpresentsplus.com. We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with Randy, Tom, and James. We've been counting down the top 10 things that make us go wow this week, and we have reached number one.
Number one.
And we're turning it over to Randy, our special guest, who was obsessed with elections and the election coverage this past week. Randy?
Well, news is no longer news. I can say that. Pundits make me want to vomit. I can say that. Because here's the thing. Okay.
Gloria Borger and Andrea.
Oh, please. I am obsessed with politics. This is true. And I was obsessed with the news, and I kind of still am. But I'm trying to wean myself off. But it is not news. It's just endless speculation. And news doesn't exist anymore. It really doesn't, because it's just people taking bits of headlines, and the headlines are just there for the algorithm. We know the headlines aren't news. People aren't reading what's in there anyway. So it's just people regurgitating things over and over again. And this election with Youngkin and everybody talking about how the Democrats are over and whatever, all the different reads on what happened on this pretty insignificant election day. I mean, all elections are important. I'm not saying that, but it's like not like it is not there to define the future. But the takeaway really is just, and I'm a little worked up because there's a lot of things here, and I wasn't prepared for this.
We never prepare for the show, Randy.
Everyone is on TV wasting everyone's time with these ridiculous theories that come from nowhere. And really, the takeaway for this last election, which has been the takeaway for several years now, ever since Trump entered the scene, is that Republicans are liars, and to win, the liars are winning. That's the takeaway the Democrats need to know. They need to do politics. They need to get dirty. They need to learn how to
screw up. They will be given everything on a silver platter, and they will screw it up every single time. And you don't want to vote against Democrats because we are Democrats, but by God, you wish they would act like Republicans. You wish they would get in lockstep. You will never see Republicans do not squabble among themselves. Democrats, that's all they do.
Put on your big boy pants and win a fucking election. And
Yes.
then
But I think the Democrat point of view is inherently more sophisticated and complex.
But that has nothing to do with it. That's
It
not
doesn't
what's
matter.
gonna win.
No
That's not
matter
the winning
what.
That's not the winning thing. What
And by the
wins
way-
elections is people standing together as opposed to progressives squabbling over centrists.
We need Lil Nas X. He knows how to deal with, he knows how to clap back at
And the
assholes.
fact of the matter is that the Republicans who had already said that that the race was rigged until they won, and then all of a sudden it's not rigged anymore.
Yeah.
And that's how Democrats need to think. They need to fight every single election. They need to go down even when it's not, even when they lost, they need to say they didn't lose like the Republicans. They need to start acting like Republicans.
Oh God, I'm calling on the algorithm to help us now, please.
No,
Say
I
it to
totally
the
agree
algorithm.
with you, Randy. And I hate watch CNN. It just gets my hackles up. It just makes me so mad to watch that panel just sit there and just regurgitate
Ugh.
Twitter headlines.
I know. And yesterday Tom was talking about how and I do this too. I watch or I listen to NPR because at least it's sort of, it's soft. It's like Muzak. It's the Muzak version of news. And there is some content there actually. But I
have a feeling that starting in 2022, I'm going to have to just turn off the news. I'm not going to be able to engage in it anymore because it makes me so angry. And I'm so disappointed in where the world is going. Once we lose the Senate and we lose once we lose all of that, and then 2024 comes along, I'm going to have either a heart attack or I'm just going to have to disengage.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a happy moment to end the show on, I think.
Tom, could you put a lovely cherry on
with you,
top
Randy?
of it for us? Could you take us out with some cherry, something?
Well, that brings me back to Lucille Ball and Mame.
We're out of time. Boo-hoo. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Tom.
I only have 10 minutes, you guys.
Thank you,
10 minutes is up.
And thank you, Blake.
See, this is why I watch my soap operas, though, because it takes me out of
with Satan running around. That's
and
good.
This is why I go to the casino.
This is why I end the show. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.
Wow. Woo.